Hello, I am Jason Hahn, and we are back with more manga discussions. Today, I am joined by two fellow Screen Rant writers, but I write for video games, and my friends here write for the comics section. And we're here to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen. It's a huge, huge deal. I actually just got all the way caught up on it. I'm in a weird spot right now where I stopped reading it for a little while after the Shibuya incident. Shibuya. I'm going to say a lot of things incorrectly, so please forgive me. Um, and I kind of took a break for the culling game stuff, and I just read all of it after watching the movie, and we are now caught up to chapter 177. So I'm incredibly excited. I just caught up on all these things. The last I watched the movie, Yuta is prominent in the movie, and then I start reading this, and it's like being rewarded because I just saw Yuta like grow as a student, and now he's doing all these things. But anyway, more on that a little bit later. Let's introduce our fellow guests. Ben, would you like to start out?
Yeah, I'm Ben. I'm a comics writer for Screen Rant. I write mainly about manga and with a little bit of DC and Marvel sprinkled in there. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about the new chapter because Jujutsu Kaisen is one of my current favorites. Although I think I say that about every series that I talk about. But
He's a passionate man, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah,
Steven, would you like to? Hi, I'm here. Steven, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Steven. I'm a comics writer for Screen Rant, just like Ben here. I mostly write about manga as well, and then also Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm more a fan of the Archie comics than IDW Publishing's.
Welcome to Jujutsu Kaisen 177's discussion. As I begun this, I just caught up on most of the culling game arc, and some stuff is really confusing, but at the same time, it's fascinating. We've talked to some other podcasts about a little bit about Jujutsu Kaisen, and the artist behind it, or the writer, Gigi Gege. Gege. I called my great grandma Gigi, so I'm kind of I think of that anytime I look at it. But he has, within 177 chapters, this guy has pretty much created an environment where just anything can happen. Like curse powers are just whatever he can come up with, because it can be somewhat explained. Sometimes it requires a few readings, but I'm sure you guys probably have a better grasp on it than somebody who just ran through 20 chapters. But one question that has been bugging, it's been stuck in my brain since this culling game began. I may have missed like a panel or two or something, but are we like time traveling? Are there like sorcerers from the past? Like how?
So it's like
just cursed energy.
at the start of the culling game, they said that basically it would include a bunch of like sorcerers from long ago who agreed to do this culling game with the person who's possessing the main villain.
Yeah,
because that person's that sorcerer is like thousands of years, or maybe not thousands, but hundreds of years old at least. It seems like they can just hop bodies.
Yeah, definitely major spoilers for anybody who is anime only. Don't listen to this podcast if you're not caught up on Jujutsu Kaisen. But yeah, great point. Kind of a little bit of a refresher. Gojo's former buddy, not Gojo. Gojo's former buddy. I'm bad with names. You guys can help me out.
I always forget his name, especially since now they sometimes call him by the other name, and it's like
yeah. And I'm glad that they started doing that. Ken Jaku. He's the sorcerer brain that has possessed Gojo's former buddy, who perished at the hands of Yuta and
Geto.
Gojo.
That's his name.
Geto. There you go. Phantom Geto is something a lot of people are calling this newer version, but he's possessing Geto's body, and it is a old sorcerer who is supposed to be ridiculously powerful. Is he supposed to be more powerful or older than Sukuna, or is he just kind of like ranked up there? but he's definitely the major threat of the series at this point.
Yeah, I think he's lower than Sukuna just because Sukuna's like the top.
King of curses. Yeah.
King of Curses. I remember now. That's first episode stuff. But yeah, so I'm just kind of going through this chapter on my other screen. So if my eyes are averted, that's why. But it's a lot of fun to see Yuta center stage now, especially after just recently getting caught up and watching the movie, seeing his transition from being the wimpy student who's getting beaten up by Maki to one of the strongest dudes in the entire series, who's just taking on these, like, if this person just appeared and was doing these things, you'd think they're a god. Like, especially this lady who's just flying her in the last chapter, like one of the last pages, they finally like gave me the names. Her name is URO, which is almost like a UFO, but with the R in the middle. And I would totally imagine like her powers would make people think, oh, that might be a UFO up there. So that might be the origin of her name. But it's really cool to see these really complex powers. I recently finished that Fushiguro fight with the guy covered in receipts.
Oh, Reggie Star. Yeah,
Reggie Star. And that guy's powers took a lot of mental stretching for me to like understand what was going on.
Yeah,
that was a little off. I mean, that was one of the reasons I mean at the beginning the calling game kind of felt until recently, until Yuta came in. Actually, it almost felt like filler. Like when I was expecting almost to be like Shibuya, just because there are people in the calling game who don't want to be there, so they're kind of like civilians. So I was hoping for that, that chaos for when everyone came in, and that was kind of missing with the whole Reggie Star thing. But then once Yuta came into the fray, that's when they got really good.
Yeah.
And that is exactly where this chapter ended, was just chaos. I even like you to like, I kind of wanted to get these people further away from the Coliseum where I'm keeping people safe, but we don't really have a choice at this point. But there's Kamehameha waves flying all over the place. People are flying. It almost seemed like Yuta used a shadow clone kind of thing. He disappeared into the ground and appeared right next to the dude. It's all kinds of craziness, and I'm loving it. My eyes keep going to some of the art here, but Yuta's fighting style too has just been a real treat to see. So one thing that I kind of struggle with a lot of mangas is like understanding how many hits somebody can take, and there's some series that do that better than others. Like the end of Dragon Ball Super, where it's just like, all right, I'm exhausted. 2 episodes later, all right, full blast again. You're like, wait, you just said the opposite. But they're all reinforcing themselves with cursed energy, so they're all taking huge hits. But the end of this chapter ended with 3 of the most powerful things that we've seen in this little fight, all jumping into their domain expansion, which is essentially Bankai in this series.
And also like just about that, I mean, I went back just to make sure, so I wrote an article about it, but this is the first time that we're seeing 3 domain expansions like simultaneously. Like before, we've had 2 instances where there's been 2 domain expansions. Like there was the fight before he died, Kokichi and Mahito. They used domain expansions, even though Kokichi, he only used a simple domain. But then a little bit afterwards, Megumi used his domain expansion against Dagon's, and that whole bit. So this is the first time we're seeing 3, and I can just, it's going to be intense, just because when you have 2 domain expansions, the rules can always, the rules already change. So adding another domain expansion to that equation is probably going to introduce some more even crazier things.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
And it's interesting for me because, like, where are these things going to overlap, and whose will win out in each overlapping area and stuff like that? Because it's already like, when multiple are up at the same time, it's a battle of wills to see sort of which one is dominant. So what will happen with 3, because you're fighting that battle of wills on 2 fronts at once, and it's like it's very exciting. And also I feel like the domain expansions are probably going to be vastly different. Like I feel like wannabe Josuke, who I call the Pompadour guy.
Right.
Can shoot
See,
lasers.
I think Kuwabara, Yu Yu Hakusho, personally.
Oh
but
yeah, that's a good one too.
That's
but-
my age. That's my age.
Yeah,
Sean.
that's before my time. But his ability is all about like firing lasers at people. So his domain expansion is probably like he can hit anyone in his domain like automatically. And meanwhile, Uro, like her domain expansion, like her ability is all about distorting sky and like twisting it and deflecting things. So her domain expansion is probably going to be a hard counter to that in some way.
As I was reading that, watching her power, I'm just like, how the hell do you draw that? Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine, like, okay, I need you to draw space-time distorting into somebody's palm. I'm like, ow, my brain. But sorry to cut you off then.
No. It's just another level of like how good these powers are, like how great Gege is at like bringing it to the page. Because like I've never once been like, what's she doing with her powers now? I don't get it. It's very clear, even though it's a very abstract concept.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's easier to swallow than Reggie's powers were, because there was a few times, especially like I'm still kind of confused on the weight struggle that Fushiguro, Megumi, and Megume and Reggie had, where it's just like the normal person passes out with this much G-force, and Megame is experiencing 6 times that right now. And you're like, well, I'm confused. But that's just me being dumb. Yeah, this chapter, I mean, Yuta has been, or Rika has finally joined the fight, and it's really cool to see like she can carry all kinds of weapons for him now. Ever since their curse broke at the end of, I'm going to just say the movie now, it's been kind of questionable about if he's still as powerful or if he's more powerful. But I love that it was this chapter before they actually break down saying, hey, here's all the things that he can still do. Or the narrator kind of explaining that. I'm sure there's still some things that are hidden, but have we ever seen Yuta do a domain?
No. This is the first time, and also too. I mean, like connecting it to the movie, which I haven't seen, but they're finally answering the question of how Rika is still with Yuta, because in Zero she is released, like her spirit is goes away. So it's like so you read that in the Zero or watch it in the movie, and then all of a sudden in the manga, which takes place after, she's somehow still in the sword. Like I was always confused, like how can that be? And they finally explained it in this chapter that basically they're 2 different entities. Like there's the Rika that went to the afterlife,
Transcended,
and now this Rika is actually a cursed technique. So it's 2 different entities. So it's kind of cool they finally explained with that.
Yeah, absolutely, because they decided to bring Yuta back at the end of the Shibuya arc, which is the whole reason I feel like they had to do the movie now, is because the anime starts without Yuta, without any of that. And after that became a hit, they're like, oh crap, we kind of need to explain this whole arc. Let's do a movie, and then Shibuya. So when Yuta shows up again, anime only watchers won't be like, who's this new character? But yeah, we only got a small glimpse of Yuta coming back at the end of the Shibuya arc when he has to fight main character.
Yuji.
Yuji.
Yes, thank you. You guys are going to need to help me a lot, at least in this first recording. But yeah, we got a small glimpse of Rika coming out then, and that was the big like, what? She was supposed to be gone, but it's good to see that he's still powerful. And now they're just kind of, it's like he's gotten the best of both worlds, really, because she seems to still be sentient, especially when he hit Yuta, and then Rika came out and just fought Pompadour guy, and I want to just call him Kuwabara, but I'm too old.
You can call him Kuwabara. I can call him Josuke. You
know? People listening will just be very confused. But yeah, it's been it's just I think Pompadour guy punched Rika, and then she said something like of her own, like, wow, that hurt. And it wasn't like a manifestation over Yuta or anything like that. It's like she is her own separate thing with personality and thoughts. And I'm wondering how deep we're going to get into that, because then it gets into like, okay, did she really transcend, or it's just interesting writing, I guess.
Yeah, actually, that's my only currently my only critique of this new development is that was one of the things I really liked in Zero, that whole relationship between Yuta and Rika. I mean, she dies, but he subconsciously, inadvertently trapped. He doesn't, because he can't accept that she died. So it's because of him that she is trapped in his sword. And so that creates a whole mess in the mind. And now the fact that that could possibly be gone is kind of, I don't want to say upsetting, but that conflict almost feels like it's gone. Like that was a really cool duality where it's like, I have this powerful, monster that can, do anything, but it's the love of my life who I've trapped there inadvertently. It's like a really interesting dichotomy. And it's kind of,
and go ahead, Ben.
Now it sort of feels like he's sort of having his cake and eating it too, where it's like, oh yeah, we all like how Rika and Yuta's relationship was, but now Rika's sort of moved on. But let's just preserve that relationship anyways. We'll just throw in some, oh, it's not actually Rika, it's like a husk of her, but they still have the same relationship. So all you fans of Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, yeah, this is for you, so like I'm not complaining about it, but it's just like, it is sort of like
cop out almost.
Yeah, it's a cop out. Yeah.
Well, especially, I mean, I just saw the movie last weekend with my wife, and it's one of those things where it is a cop out, and it's almost spitting in the face of like the whole climax of the film was the conflict of ideals between Yuta and Ghetto. Thank you so much, Ben. The conflicts between Ghetto and Yuji about, Yuta. Man.
Two you protagonists.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
And two we have Ghetto and
Gojo. And, yeah, it's tricking my brain. But we had the conflict of ideals there, where Ghetto is consistently taking advantage of everyone around him to get to what he wants, while Yuta is just absolutely in love with his, exactly what Steven was just saying. And before their last power struggle, he even says, like, I don't want to use you anymore. Like, after this, you are 100% free to do whatever you want. So I think that might be what they're going to tie it into at the end here, is she's choosing to still help him in a way. But in a way, she's also transcended to heaven, I guess. Yeah, we might need more explanation for that in a further chapter. But yeah, he's absolutely getting his cake and eating it too. But it's just, we had that character development of, I'm not going to use, her power to benefit me anymore. And now we're seeing that, but at the same time, it's kind of like she's choosing to help him. So I would almost be, we need clarification if they are really two separate entities. I guess really we haven't gotten a lot of explanation of what it means in this series for a curse or a soul to, like transcend to heaven or whatever they want to call it. But most series, we eventually get that by the end. We meet, we get the whole afterlife explanation, and we meet God and, stuff like that. That's all normal Shonen Jump stuff. So, But yeah, what was some other stuff in this chapter that stood out for you guys?
Those are actually the main.
Yeah.
You gonna say something, Ben?
Yeah, I guess so. Not in this chapter, but in the previous chapter, something that really stood out to me, and I didn't notice this until I perused the comments on the Shonen Jump, page for it, for the chapter. But Gege's attention to detail in these fights is incredible. And so in that previous chapter, like Yuta gets his hand blasted, and it's all like charred and stuff. And as the chapter goes on, you can see it sort of in panels, not highlighted or anything, but you can see it like healing over time.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. I didn't notice either. And then I go to this comment section, and this genius has seen it and stuff. And I'm like, wow, I wish I had this level of attention to detail. But it's just really cool to see. And I think Jujutsu Kaisen is the manga currently going right now with the best like technical fights.
Oh yeah.
So I'm very excited to see how that level of technicality like transfers over to this triple domain expansion and to this fight that is just like, it has the potential to just be insane, like so chaotic and stuff. And
well, that brings up the question: too chaotic, too complex? I'm not sure. Like there's sometimes, especially with the Reggie fight, where it's like, do I need to start taking notes? Like, it's kind of in the way, and it might just be because I'm a dumb guy when it comes to some of these things, but it's kind of, it reminds me of JoJo in a way where everyone's powers can be so weird. But as somebody who has only gotten about a quarter of the way through, I think part 5 of JoJo, it gets to the point where you're like, okay, a lot of these powers are really complicated and complex, but they're just whatever they want them to be. But the difference is Gege in Jujutsu Kaisen, everything seems to lean on it so much that it helps support the tension, compared to JoJo, where it's like the monster of the week kind of thing. It's just, they keep on building and building and building until it's this huge house of cards of powers and balances, and reverse techniques only work against this, and people actually can't see cursed energy, so it's all sorcerers who can only see this. And then it just starts to be like, okay, so did somebody who can't see cursed energy see the granite laser blast that just took out half the city? Like there's just a lot of things to swallow for this series, but once you start to understand it and maybe just throw some of it away and just enjoy it, it's a fun ride. But what's wild is it just keeps building and building and building, and I can't imagine how big the final conflicts in this series are going to be and how complex they're going to get. And it definitely requires a lot more paying attention than I'm used to, say with like Dragon Ball Super, or I wouldn't say One Piece, because One Piece does a pretty good job of balancing powers and stuff like that, in my opinion. But this is definitely, as you said, I think one of the more technical, like the most things going on in fights of all the series I'm currently reading. But what are some of your guys' favorite powers that you've seen in this culling arc so far?
That first guy, the lawyer. I really like that. What was that guy's name? The guy that Yuji was fighting. Yeah. That got me really invested. Yeah, the whole thing where he creates like that jury room.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I like how we got a whole chapter just like explaining him.
Yeah, his background.
Yeah, and it just kind of gave us, some time to breathe with everything that's going on in the culling game, while also building up, our fondness for a character that is bound to show up again. But it also gave that great opportunity for Itadori to, flat out be like, yeah, I'm the one that killed all those people at Shibuya. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And that's something he struggles with a lot too. I mean, that admission brings it to a whole other level.
Yeah, that was actually the cherry on top for the Shibuya incident for me, was after Sukuna disappears and it's just Yuji looking at the crater, and he's just like, why won't you just die? And it's just a haunting cap to that whole incident. And it's that it actually got me really excited during that courtroom fight. Was them saying like, okay, well, the sentence is death. And it was like, is Sukuna about to like die? Like, is he able to, we still didn't have full grasp of how the lawyer guy's powers worked. But him admitting he was guilty and then getting the death sentence, even though it wasn't him, it was Sukuna's fault. I was wondering if the lawyer's powers were like, vast and crazy enough where that death penalty would have gone to the cursed spirit that's possessing him sometimes, which would have been a pretty cool twist, but it also would have been a little anticlimactic.
Yeah. Like we know Yuji isn't dying anytime soon.
Oh, no. Yeah. I don't mean Yuji. I mean, specifically, like, since one could argue that Yuji is two people, Sukuna and Yuji.
Oh, like specifically just killing Sukuna and not Yuji.
Yeah, that was a little thing in my head as I was reading. I was like, could that happen? That'd be nuts. But it didn't.
Yeah, that would be a bit too anticlimactic for me. Like,
yeah.
I think Sukuna is going to be the final boss, like, in this series. Personally,
that's definitely been suggesting that.
Yeah. So I'd be very sad if he died this early.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Oh, this build up.
Yeah, I think we're definitely far away from that sort of resolution. And we've definitely gone past the point where, I don't think we're going to get any redemption for Sukuna. Like, until the Shibuya arc, I was like, are we going to get like a situation like they somehow become friends with the inner demon inside of them, and kind of like a Black Clover or Naruto kind of thing? And nope.
Yeah.
Even if they did somewhat get some sort of understanding, Sukuna still did just kill a city full of people this time, and we're not even sure if this is the only time he's done that sort of thing. Yeah, there's just so many huge, powerful figures at this point in the series, and a lot of series take 400 chapters to get to this point. So it's pretty impressive, the pacing and the amount of story and characters and technicalities that have been fit into this series already. It's a good treat for anybody who hasn't caught up. I highly recommend it, even though you're probably not listening to minute 4:30 of a podcast.
If you are, what are you doing? What are you doing? Just read the thing.
Yeah.
Kind of switching tracks a little bit, going back to the culling game. One thing that happened a few chapters ago that I'm really excited to see unravel is, and I keep on forgetting this person's name, but after, before they went into the culling game, one of the reasons why they wanted to go there was to find this jujutsu sorcerer, an angel, who is the reason, or who's the only person who can basically free Gojo from that prison realm that he's in.
Oh, okay.
And last time we saw Megumi, when he, after his battle with Reggie, he's all messed up, that we see that angel jujutsu sorcerer descend down on him. So they're seems like they're almost fast tracking that, the possible saving of Gojo, just because, it could have been, that sorcerer could have been anywhere. There's like all these different areas that, that's encompassed inside this calling game. And like almost immediately we find that jujutsu sorcerer. So it seems like maybe Gojo might have a comeback and return in this particular arc. It's a possibility.
Oh boy. I almost see that being the climax of this arc. And then I don't know if this is going to be the final arc. I don't know if anything has been said about, how long they plan on having the series go. But
I think this isn't the final, but it's not, this isn't the final one, but I know it's coming. It's okay. It's soon. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the whole reason that they captured Gojo rather than killing him off from a writing standpoint. If they didn't have anything left for that character to do, then they would have just killed him off, even though he is one of the most liked characters that is in all of Shonen Jump right now. They would probably have a riot and some pickets if they killed off Gojo in front of their offices.
They killed Nobara, and
Did they though?
Well,
I'm still holding on to that.
I am too. Don't worry, but like
Okay.
it seems bleak.
It does seem bleak. I think we're set up for her to make an epic like save at some point. I'm really hoping so. Because Nobara was one of my favorite characters, and I almost dropped my phone on the chapter where she got hurt. I'm not going to say died. She got hurt. And then
Got
it was
hurt
kind
fatally.
of a fatal explosion to the face. It is a flesh wound. They they even like later Itadori asks Megumi, what happened to her, and he has a grim expression on his face, and that just wasn't enough for me. As somebody who reads One Piece and many other shonens, I need to see, a little dark to say, I need to see the body. I need to see. I
need the proof.
I need the proof. I need the proof in the pudding to see that Nobara is actually gone. I really. They seem to do that though, because didn't the same thing happen with Gojo and Ghetto's like third? Didn't they have a female partner?
Yeah, but she was never implied to be dead.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Did she just like Sakura just like fall to the wayside?
I think she like left to do her own thing.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I just didn't remember that part.
Yeah.
But great point with the angel descending on Megumi, because I forgot that I literally read that chapter like the other night, and I saw her descending, and I'm like, that looks important and cool. But
well, and also Tengen. I mean, they didn't bring him up. Like it was a while ago when Master Tengen describing all this. Like it was quite a bit ago. So I'd actually, the only reason why I pieced that together is because I was writing something else and I was doing some research and I was going into Master Tengen. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, the whole angel thing. So
okay, because we do need that. Like, how are we going to get Gojo out? Plot thread. We need that ticking clock, that goal to work towards. Yeah, I was surprised that, if that resolution is already presenting itself, we still need to get through Yuta's thing. And I really enjoyed Yuta breaking down, their goals for establishing order throughout this entire culling game. They need to set up communication between the colonies. They need to figure out a rule where they can leave freely to handle everything, because they're fighting against threats that could just level the population essentially with these crazy powers that are happening. So Yuta's come a long way. I've said it before, but he was that scared, had zero courage. He didn't even know what he wanted to do with his life. And now he is almost second to Gojo in this series, and he's able to come up with a plan immediately. And he's also taking on like 3 disastrous threats like immediately. Big fan of Yuji.
Yuta.
Yuta.
Although it's not mutually exclusive, you can like both.
Yes.
Well, they are basically like exact opposites too, which is but going back to Gojo, actually kind of going off the rails a bit again. It's the same as in other series like with Black Clover, and I don't want to give away too much because I know you might be reading it, Jason. I'm not sure. But Gojo is one of the, obviously a very likable character, but he's to the point where he's just so massively strong that he needs to be gone.
No tension.
And so I'm really glad they did that whole prison thing just so they can remove him, because they do the same thing in Black Clover with a particular overpowerful character.
I think I know who you're talking about. Julius?
Yeah. You get to that part?
I'm actually quick sidebar, Black Clover. I'm after the
crazy
first
underrated.
double. It is very underrated. I'm probably like 200 chapters in. I do really enjoy Black Clover. As somebody who like grew up loving Naruto, I can tell that the guy who does Black Clover grew up like idolizing the story structure and stuff of Naruto, because there's so many like similarities with how, like with side characters, personalities, and world building and all that. It's all very similar, but he almost does a better job of giving side characters time to shine and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I really enjoy that. It's just it all gets resolved almost too cleanly sometimes, like especially at that end of the big arc that you're kind of referring to, where the elves take over.
Which is actually the worst. I think that was the worst arc.
Oh, really? Okay.
And actually, one of the reasons why I think a lot of people might have been jumping ship around that time, because what that is leading to, oh my God.
All right, I'm on my way there. So, but yeah, we'll eventually do some Black Clover discussions. Now that I'm all caught up on Jujutsu Kaisen, I've got the the space to start catching up on Black Clover. So look forward to that manga podcast discussion, fans. But back to Jujutsu. I'm really enjoying the Kuwabara, kind of like the Pompadour characters fighting style. Is he exactly shooting lasers, or is it supposed to be like rock lines? It's kind of hard to tell in black and white drawings sometimes, but it's just very well. Also, Yuta's real fast. Like there's literally one panel where he's in the air and he punches at one of the granite streams, is what I'm going to call it. Should I just call it laser? Granite blast is the translation, but
just like with his character, I mean, I haven't really been focusing too much on it. I'm sorry, Ben.
No,
this will be quick. Like the thing that I've just been focusing on, I mean, it kind of seems random almost, but his obsession about like eating and being hungry. Like I'm surprised that his power isn't like sucking people in like Kirby or something.
Oh man, that would be the end of the series if a Kirby threat showed up. No one would stand a chance. It's kind of a personality very similar. I'm getting Goku vibes from it, where it's consistently like I consistently am looking to fill that empty hole in me. Like Goku's consistently looking for stronger people to fight, and he only feels satisfied after fighting a strong combatant. And that's kind of the vibe I've been getting from this character. Is he even said like, I lived a pretty good life. I fought some strong dudes. I met a good girl, and I don't really have any regrets. But he seems to have this hunger for battle, this thirst for a worthy opponent, and he seems to have found one with Yuta. And I'm very happy to see Yuta flex his muscles against such. Well, we need good powers and good villains to fully flesh out our heroes. And which leads me to the last time I remember Yuta. Wasn't he supposed to be protecting Tengen right now?
No, that was that was the blood guy.
Okay.
And
the other brother.
The
other.
Which is such a weird storyline for my brain too. Like the only reason he's on our side is because Sukuna like implanted a memory in his head, which is something he can do apparently. That seems like that's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean Sukuna's like all powerful, so he can do what he wants. But I have so I actually think that Pompadour guy for me has been sort of disappointing actually, relatively, because he just felt so much like a side character. Like he feels like a character, whereas like Uro, you can tell how much I like the character because I actually bothered to remember her name. So Uro, she feels like she could potentially survive this fight and like, ally with our heroes, or like show up at least later on, because she's been given sort of like a backstory that relates to, Yuta's, ancestors and things like that. So it feels like she's going to be more relevant. Whereas this guy
sorry. No,
you get
I mean, she seems to have a lot more depth. I mean, also just that odd interaction of, Yuta, changing his attention to Pompadour. Like it was an odd exchange, but it actually just really added to her character in a really compelling way, where it's just like, dude, focus on me. What are you doing? So it kind of creates this like she has this like complex almost like of needing to be the main focus. Like they really took that to the next level, and that was exciting for me at least.
Yeah, and it contrasts very well with her ability, which is sort of deflection. And
I like that.
Yeah. No, I didn't realize that until you mentioned it, and I was like, oh, that's neat.
Yeah,
but yeah, and also like Pompadour guy's power set.
Ishigori.
Yeah, Ishigori. Okay, good. We finally have a name to call him.
I like Pompadour. I like Pompadour.
Yeah.
That's
okay, Pompadour it is.
Yeah. But his power set is so straightforward too. And maybe we'll see differently in his domain expansion.
Yes.
But like he feels like someone where it's like you've seen him in one fight and you've seen him in sort of all fights. Like I could be proven wrong here because people like Gege's been good at coming up with creative applications for a lot of these abilities. And so who knows, maybe in a later fight he'll prove me wrong. But he sort of feels like he's interesting, but like he's not going to stick around for long. He could die in this fight and his sort of purpose in the story would be fulfilled.
Which is a great point, is what I was going to bring up, is likability. Whenever a manga like introduces a new character, if they make that character extremely likable, most of the time, we're not going to see them die or something like that. Jujutsu Kaisen seems to be a little bit different though. They're not afraid to pull punches when that happens, because I'd say like in the recent fight that just wrapped up, Reggie seemed like a pretty likable dude. Like he wasn't doing anything like super like evil, killing innocent people. He just, I thought they fleshed out his story and his personality really well. So when he did finally die, you're like, oh shit, the stakes are pretty high here. Like, and I'm almost feeling the same way with these two characters. They're doing a really good job of, especially Uro or Uro. They're giving you, they're making her likable enough where you're like, you know what, I wouldn't mind. She needs some good resolution, because she was part of the mob and she was killed to help somebody else get out of a situation, something like that. So it was
part of like an assassin's troop.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so it's kind of like she just wants to be real, is what she was saying. Like she wants to come back from hell or the afterlife, which
probably also describes why she's so obsessed about getting attention.
Yeah.
It will give her authenticity.
Yeah, which is interesting with this calling game, is we have all these new players, and some of them are obviously not going to survive to the end of the arc. Like, I didn't know how much character arc we could get out of a cockroach with curse powers.
Actually, with that guy, I'm actually really upset about how they dealt with him, because like the way his sword was described, it was a bridge between life and death, and he's about to fight Yuta, whose whole sword, like it's all based on the Rika, who's alive but not alive. She's cursed. Like, I thought that would have been a great, like, it was like one of those things where in shonen you sometimes get those types of villains that just match perfectly with the main character or with the opponent, and it just seems like it was set up that way, and then almost as a trolling way. Like, it's like, oh man, they're perfect, but no, actually not.
Yeah. I could definitely see Gege doing that. Like, I feel he's done things in the past like that too, where it's just like you're like, oh, this is set up to be great, and then he takes it in a different direction. That's also very great. But like,
which could also it could have gone with what Jason was saying earlier, where the lawyer guy could have killed Sukuna. Like one of those things.
Yeah,
like,
no, it could have happened.
Yeah, that's kind of one thing I love about like weekly releases. Some series really benefit from that, because like a chapter will come out like at that cockroach monster curse thing. You read that chapter and then you have a whole week of like, oh man, your brain and your imagination is just swimming with all the places that the next chapter could do. And then the next chapter comes out and it's, the most obvious thing. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I felt the same way with like Game of Thrones. Like, anybody who binges through the whole thing, you're kind of missing that. Like same thing with Jujutsu Kaisen here. Like if I, like I just did, read 20 chapters in the past week, that speculation and that time where your imagination just flourishes with twists and where things could go, you kind of lose some of that. So really, I am now part of the weekly Jujutsu Kaisen group, so it's an honor.
Yeah, we welcome you to our ranks. But
yeah.
but it sort of does feel like it feels like Jujutsu Kaisen really is an improvement on sort of its influences that I can see in many ways, and I think this is one of them. Like, it's very clear that there's a lot of JoJo's influence here.
I was just gonna say that
a lot of the powers, but reading JoJo's, well, month to month, I guess, reading JoJo's every month, like, Araki really stretches out those stand battles, and like it's cool. It's really cool, like building tension over what the powers exactly are and things like that. But like it can get to be a bit much when you're reading month to month and you're like, what happened this month? Oh, there was like a minor reveal about this power. Like, and this was especially evident to me in the last arc of part 8, which I'm not sure if either of you have read, but it just dragged on for a very long time, like almost 2 years. And a lot of it was very minor escalations of the fight. And then it ended very abruptly. But anyway, that's a talk for another time. But like it is very nice here to sort of be like, okay, here's this character, here's their powers, now they're fighting. And yeah, and so it's nice to see sort of Gege improving on that sort of stand battle structure. And also I think that he does take a lot of influence from Hunter x Hunter as well. Hunter x Hunter also.
Just the whole. Yeah, I think you wrote an article on it about the comparable.
Yeah. It was comparing the Chimera Ant arc to the Shibuya arc.
Because everything's just like focused, like seconds are portrayed in chapters.
Yeah, and Gege really improved on that.
Which could be happening in Black Clover soon.
Ooh.
I think that type of thing might be coming.
Okay, your guys' discussion of Black Clover is getting me excited about it. I might have to jump on this.
What happened with me in One Piece, man? I hated that show for 20 years, and then I sat in on that conversation, and your guys' enthusiasm was just like, maybe I've been wrong. My decades vendetta was wrong.
It's like that meme. Wait, am I wrong? But yeah, you and me both, Ben. We're gonna have to double team Black Clover, and we'll start doing discussions on that. So, any thoughts you guys want to wrap up with this chapter, Jujutsu Kaisen 177? What do you think will happen next?
I mean, chaos, like we discussed, but it will be chaos that is very well ordered. I'll say, and I'm excited to see that. So.
Absolutely, the triple domain expansion, as you said earlier, is. I kind of forgot that previous clashes of domains have resulted in some of the craziest moments of this series. So seeing a triple go on is going to be new territory, and excited to talk about it with you guys next week because I'm finally caught up.
Oh yeah.
You know what? Actually, I think it's available now. Holy crap!
The next chapter.
178 just got uploaded.
Did it? Or
like a fan sub?
Was this latest chapter 177 or was it 178?
Wait, what? Wait, hold on a second. Are you on the Shonen Jump site?
Oh, no, sorry. We've been discussing 178.
Okay.
I was like, what?
Sorry, back when you just were saying on the previous chapter, I think I clicked back to it. So I've been looking at that. So any more thoughts on Jujutsu 178, guys? Sorry to get you excited.
I know tomorrow, that's usually on Fridays, that's when the fan subs drop. So early in the morning, that's usually, you get the Jujutsus, you get the Black Clovers, which I think is on break next week.
You get the One Piece.
Which is apparently going to be a massive thing for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's trending on Twitter. Where for people watching this, I'm not sure when it will come out, but like 10:44. That's the next One Piece chapter. And
yes, this entry should be coming out next Monday, which will be after the official releases come out. By then, we'll also have a new Jujutsu Kaisen to talk about, which will be next week. And I hope you guys will check it out. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and like this if you enjoyed it. And I think there's a little bell you can flick, and it'll let you know when things are freshly uploaded, so you'll know exactly when new discussions come up. But check out the channel. We do discussions on all kinds of different series. So if this one, if you're a Jujutsu Kaisen but a huge bigger One Piece fan, we got one for that too. But yeah, to kind of sign off, I'm Jason Hahn. Please check out Screen Rant. We got plenty of great articles for comics, video games, and movies. And I also do a YouTube channel called Honzy and Friends, where we do some comedic Let's Plays. Just uploaded an episode of Elden Ring with me and some buddies. I hope you guys will check it out. And yeah, Ben, got anything you want to plug, man?
Nothing I want to plug really. I will say that I also saw Jujutsu Kaisen Zero on your recommendation, and I really enjoyed it.
Studio Mappa.
Yeah, no, they did great. And also they filled in some things that the manga didn't include, and I was very happy to see that. So check it out even if you've read the manga. It's very good.
Yeah, very fun. And Steven.
Yeah, I mean, like I do, I was just saying that to check out some new manga that's on Shonen Jump, underrated stuff. Dan to Dan, massively crazy cool. I recommend that. Ghost Reaper Girl, that is a crazy spirit world mixed with Cthulhu mythos.
You had me at Cthulhu.
Yeah, and then an older one that hasn't been getting that much traction, Undead Unluck. So surprised it hasn't been set to be made into an anime. Crazy underrated. I highly suggest reading those.
I'm about
or PPPPP or PPPPP. That's a great spin on using piano as like visualizing the music in a really intricate way that can affect people.
Yeah, and we need more readers. We need to make sure it doesn't fall by the wayside, because there's still plenty of story left to go there. And,
oh boy.
Are you reading?
Yeah, I'm reading it. Yeah, I caught up recently, and it's so good.
And unfortunately, like other newcomers like Ayashima and Doran Dororon, like those are kind of really falling off. Like I was excited, but like both of them, it's like, oh no.
Yeah, they feel sort of like clones of better series.
Oh no.
I can talk about those for at length.
Yeah.
Well, let us know in the comments if you guys would like to hear us talk about those, and we'll see if we can get enough people interested in talking about it. But yeah, thanks for checking us out. It was a lot of fun talking to you guys today, and till next time, yeah?
Yeah.
Peace.
Bye.